How's it going, everyone? Welcome to part 2 of Proxmox VMs, and today we will be looking at Windows Server 2022 as mentioned on our previous video. If you remember from the previous video, we installed Ubuntu as our first VM, and today we will be attempting Windows Server 2022. This time around, I'm gonna play it safe and allocate the proper memory without having to change it midway. So without any further ado, let's begin. Last time we preloaded the ISO, but in case you want to refresh your memory or if you're new to the channel, simply go to data center and then go to your local home, click on the ISO images, and you have one that you want to upload, click on the upload, and then you can select the file and most likely you're gonna have it on the downloads. So I have a bunch of ISOs here just for an example. You choose one, you click open, and you click upload. After it's done uploading, you will find it here on the list, and you will start by creating your VM by clicking create VM. The node is home, obviously. Virtual ID, we're gonna leave it at 101 because we have on 100 the Ubuntu. We're gonna give it a name, Windows 2022, and we will continue. Next, here you're gonna choose your ISO. So we will choose Windows Server 2022. We will click next. On the system, we will leave defaults. Next, the disk, we're gonna leave it as default. CPU, let's hide this. Obviously we have one socket, but we will give it 4 cores. Next, 8 gigs of RAM. Next, network, we will leave the network as it is. We're gonna have a bridge and finish. Now we wait. Let's click on start.
It was at this moment he knew. He fucked up.
And it's spawning.
Two hours later.
Hey guys, it's me from the future. Long story short, we messed up. I messed up. So after a little bit of research, there are some extra steps we need to take. We will need an additional ISO that will load the drivers for the Windows and will allow us to boot Windows. Otherwise, we will not be able to do that. If you go to Google and search for virt.io for Proxmox, will be the first option. And under installation, you can download the latest stable. And obviously, you will have to upload it on your library. So without further ado, let's create our VM. There are a couple of extra steps that we will have to take in our configuration, but we will get to that as we continue. Under OS, we will change to Windows, select the Windows Server or whatever Windows you prefer to use. Click Next. Under System, we will go with Machine Default. SCSI controller is gonna be virt.io SCSI, so you can see already where the mistake was made. And obviously we didn't have the ISO previously. BIOS, we're gonna go with default, so we make sure we bypass that UEFI nonsense. Under disks, we will select the bus device. We will go with SCSI. Disk, I think it's enough. Next, 4 core CPU, memory 8 gigs. network stays the same, and make sure you don't select start after create because we need to take an extra step. We click on finish, we give it a little bit, and here we have it. Now we will click on hardware and click add CD DVD, local storage, or wherever you stored your ISOs, and we will select the second ISO that will contain the drivers for Windows. I'll click that, add. As you can see, we have two ISOs mounted, and now we can safely start booting for the first time. I don't know why for Windows it always has to be extra steps, but I mean, that's what it's called to be special, I guess. Typical installation, next, install. If you got the ISO from the official website, you will be greeted with 4 options. We will go with the second option, that is the desktop experience. Otherwise, if you choose the first, you will only be able to configure your Windows and work into the environment just using the console. So for easier use, and I'm used to this actually, it's easier for everybody. Continue, custom, and as we can see, we do not have the drive. Windows does not detect the drive, so we need to manually load it. If you remember, that's why we added the second ISO. We will scroll down and we are looking for ISO SCSI Windows 2K22 AM D64 Red Hat Virtual IO SCSI pass-through. So this is what we needed. We'll click next, give it a moment. And now we have a drive detected. Click next, and let's wait for it to finish. As for any Windows server, the first user will always be administrator. We just need to add a password. And here we are. Let's call a Control Alt Delete. So in the console of Proxmox, you have a drop-down menu. And now we can safely log in. Okay, we have the server manager, couple of server services that are not started, and again that's because we are missing some drivers. We'll close this down, navigate to our ISO. It should be mounted all the way down. VirtIO 64-bit. We will start the installation. Leave this defaults. Install. And already the drivers are starting to pop in, which is great. And for a good measure, we will have to reboot our system. If you care about the logs, always make sure to do a plan one, because it will keep your logs clean. We'll give it a moment. And let's issue again a Control-Alt-Delete. Oops. We might need to run the actual Windows update, but I will probably do that later on to make sure that we have all the services up and running. And now what I want to do before we close up is to spawn the Ubuntu server as well at the same time and see how Proxmox is handling both of them. I'm more curious about the resources. I should log in. I think it's a different password. Right, so it looks good. I mean, not bad. Both of them should have 8 gigs of RAM, so that's 16. We have a total of 67. Sorry, 32. My bad. CPU 4 cores for each, and right, it's not under load, but it's doing great. And let's, for the sake of it, find out if we have updates. We might have, because if I remember correctly, the ISO that I downloaded was a couple of months ago, or actually last month, and I'm pretty sure a couple of updates were rolled out. In the meantime, let's check our IP. So for Windows, it's ipconfig, if I can type correctly. No. And we have an IP at 192.168.2.62. I can't remember the IP of Ubuntu, but we can find out. So for Linux, it's AP space A. And somehow we are getting the IPv. No, we have the IPv4. So this is 192.168.245. Oh, that's great. Oh, let's check with the updates. Yep, as I mentioned, I will keep this running to finish up the updates and have it ready for whatever we're gonna do in the future with this VM. But this is it for this video. Thank you all for joining. I hope you liked it, and if you learned something, please share, like, and subscribe. Have a good one.